So thank you guys and girls for tuning in to my podcast, Optimize Your Body, and I really appreciate it. So don't forget to subscribe to my podcast, and also if you can leave me a 5-star rating and review. Should have said that at the end, but that's all good. Anyway, first and foremost, I have my special guest on the show tonight, and it's my friend Sean McInroy. It goes by the name of Apex Strength Society on at Apex Strength Society on Instagram, and he's a personal trainer at the gym I work at, and I also lived with him for 4 months. So we've got some funny stories to tell and some interesting stuff, obviously fitness and health related. So how you doing today, mate?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on your show.
No problem. So yeah, Sean is he's a very good trainer, and that's why he's on the show, and he's very knowledgeable. And this is why I wanted to kind of pick his brains, if you like, and get an insight into the kind of stuff he does. So what motivated you? One of the first questions I wanted to ask was what motivated you to become a personal trainer and get into kind of step foot into the fitness industry?
Well, look, I'm 28 now. I started lifting weights when I was 13. I think it was just a natural progression, you know. And all through high school, lifting weights, enjoying it. I was always naturally strong, so it was something I was good at. You know, you tend to gravitate toward the things you're good at. Lifting weights, it was something I was good at, as simple as it may sound. I left school, didn't really have much, I suppose, direction. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself. I wasn't a dummy, but I didn't know what I wanted to do in terms of university degrees or anything like that. So just got a job. Shortly after that, started doing my PT course because I wanted to do something a bit more with my life. A few job opportunities came my way, which put the personal training on the back burner. From that, opportunities at that job sort of fell away, and personal training became a bit more of an option time wise.
Sure.
I took that on, and never looked back. So I just felt like it was the natural thing, right? So training since I was a young age, much like yourself, and enjoyed it. Enjoyed helping people, sort of just like little bit by little bit, as you're sort of showing friends that are new to the gym, obviously starting at such a young age, and then as other friends are picking it up when they're 18, 19, 20, things like that, and already been doing it for a good half dozen years or so, then doing my PT course to then become accredited to then train other people just made sense,
sure.
Right? So,
yeah. There's something you're passionate about, obviously. Now you've always been into your training and fitness. So.
I find it hard to call it work.
Yeah,
you know,
same.
Because it took me a long time when I first started being a PT full time to refer to it as, I'm going to work, I'm off to work, or I'm doing this for work.
Exactly.
It's going to the gym, you know.
And on that note, I've just had something spring to mind now, which is, without saying it too bluntly, there's a lot of trainers out there who are not very passionate, from what I've gathered. Actually, the gym we're based in is really good. I find the trainers there are, most of them are really passionate, and there's a good vibe there. But I find a lot of people come into it as a personal trainer for the wrong reasons, for the money, and I think they kind of are going to end up disappointed because, as you said, it feels the same for me now. I'm extremely passionate about it, and something I really enjoy doing. And also, actually, I started lifting weights, I think about the age of 15, so a young age. So, and I've always played sports, like yourself. You used to play footy and
a lot of league, a lot of athletics,
rugby league. Sorry, I'll say not footy.
A lot of different things. Probably much like yourself. Anyone that's grows up playing a sport, they typically don't just do the one sport. They try their hand at lots of different ones, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Same, yeah. So I played rugby, football, squash as I got a bit older, numerous different sports, and always been active, always been, a sporty individual. And then, same as myself, I started lifting weights at the age of about 15. Not quite as young as you, so that's your secret then, yeah? So I was gonna get to that. How the hell are you so much bigger? It's those 2 years, isn't it? 2 years. So basically I started lifting weights at 15 and never looked back really. Really enjoyed it. Built muscle really fast because obviously, as you know, I don't know how you responded, but when I was I think for me it was like 16, 17, I really started stacking some muscle on at quite a fast rate. And obviously when you're younger, I guess your testosterone levels are a bit higher. And then 19, 20, I actually done my first level 2 fitness instructor qualification. By the age of about 20, I was a qualified PT, so I've been doing it for over 10 years now. But we both love it. So that's a good thing about it, isn't it? Passion and obviously we're both confident with our message and what we know, and confidence.
Well, I think you've got to be, right? Like
key,
you said, a lot of people aren't necessarily passionate. They come into it for the wrong reasons.
For sure.
And they're going to be bitterly disappointed. I think, like any business, if you go into any business, any venture, not passionate about it and seeking more a financial gain rather than a service or purpose or relative to what it is you're trying to do.
That's exactly right.
You're going to get found out pretty quick. You may do okay, like a lot of PTs we see kind of like flounder around and do okay.
But in order to excel and really gain and really give value, isn't it? That's the most important thing, isn't it?
I was just about to say to the client, to the person that is sort of paying for your service. If there's no passion there, or there is passion there, it's very easily detectable.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why you see the people that are passionate, like you and myself, are busier than those that aren't.
That's
because people are, and you mentioned confidence, people are attracted to those qualities.
That's right.
So
exactly.
if you go to see anyone for any service, you might see them once. You give them a go, but if they don't really seem into it, then
that's right.
Well, why would you go back?
Exactly, and that's one of the key things, isn't it? Is practicing what you preach, essentially, and looking at the kind of training you do and the knowledge you have. I think it obviously your stuff, which goes a long way. But on the note of what kind of basically you need to be, like I said, practicing what you preach. Being in shape helps a lot, when you're being a trainer. Obviously, when you're a trainer, people look at you, you need to look healthy, at least relatively healthy, But in terms of the type of training you do, because, we both managed to, maintain a good physique all year round, we're not really kind of on or off, really, like you get a lot of people do, and you see their weight fluctuating quite a lot, But I noticed with yourself, you're in shape, all year round, and you've got a lot of muscle mass, and you stay lean as well. What kind of training?
You've got me on that one.
I've got you on that one. I got you on that one. He's blushing now. You can't really see this, but what kind of? I've noticed you do a mixture of things, but primarily what I like about you and the things you do is in the gym is the technique, and you're very honed in on. Lifting weights with good technique and doing it properly, as opposed to just lifting with your ego. On another note, I saw you pull in like 250 kilos, which in pounds, like 550, 600 pounds the other day for a few reps, right?
Yeah, well, that was.
So what's your secret?
Not to sort of big up myself, but that was lighter than what I definitely can do. Just put it out there.
That was a bit demoralising.
Yeah. Well, what's the secret? Well, look, put it this way: genetics plays a huge role. Like I've recently started training my mum. And she's 58 years old, and put it this way: the first time she'd had a little bit of resistance training experience, like just a little basic stuff. Never any real barbell movements. Certainly no deadlifts. The first time we deadlifted, a few months ago now, she lifted 70 kilos for 5 reps with relative ease after quite a bit of volume leading up to it, because slowly progressing in weight, and I wasn't doing it sort of unsafely. It's my mum, right? So I'm just like making sure she was doing it right.
So was your mum with the killer genetics then? Okay.
Well, that's right. You know what I mean? And it was like, oh right, I used to thank my dad for it. And that's it. But genetics plays a huge role.
Genetics plays a huge role, for sure.
I'll never be. I've always been thick. You said about. Sort of
heavy set kind of.
Yeah. But even when I was a kid, when I was young, I was always a bigger kid.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, like I said, when I hit sort of that early teen years and started to lift some weights, I responded well to resistance training.
That's right.
And like anything, especially as a kid, you tend to gravitate towards things that you're good at. So I was good at lifting weights. I enjoyed it. I found a response. I was training with my cousin and his friends who were a few years older. I was keeping up, if not bettering them in a lot of things. So I was like, well, this is something I'm good at. This is something I'm excelling at. So when you talk about sort of lifting heavy weights and things like that, or lifting with your ego rather.
Yeah, for sure.
It's something I used to do.
Yeah, you see that
quite a lot. You don't start as a 13-year-old in the gym lifting with your 16-year-old cousin and friends at the same age.
Mm.
and not lift with your ego.
That's it.
That's what you do. You know, you
just
have
get sucked in,
a
don't
bit
you?
of a laugh. And
Exactly. It's the alpha male kicks in, doesn't it? And the competitive nature of
that, and it makes
male ego.
You don't know what you don't know. So
for sure.
You don't know if you're doing something right or wrong. You're lifting a weight. You see a big guy do it. You see maybe it's a video online of someone doing it, or an image in Muscle and Fitness magazine, for instance.
For sure.
And you replicate it. You do what Ronnie Coleman's doing.
That's right. What these famous bodybuilders doing.
Yeah.
But these are genetic anomalies, right? So these are like within a small 1%, less than that, of people who have these freaky genetics. I don't know which one it is. I think it might be Ronnie Coleman. He just literally does machines. I think he didn't even lift free weights. Ronnie Coleman, or was it Phil Heath?
No, it'd be Phil Heath.
Phil Heath, that's right. Yeah, you just see him on the hammer strength machines, pretty much, don't you?
Ronnie Coleman used to be like a good powerlifter. I'm not sure what his numbers were, but
that's right.
He's old school. But
Phil Heath just literally machines. Goes to show how much.
Call him the gift. Cause,
exactly.
Obviously, he takes a few other sort of
that's it. And I think that's what it comes down to nowadays, isn't it? Like, you know, what supplements do they take in, and the genetics, obviously.
Well, yeah, genetics plays a huge role.
But they have to put the work in. I'm not taking that away from them. They have to put some serious blood, sweat, and tears in.
Of course not. But it's well, you look at the physiques nowadays.
Yeah, completely different to back in Arnie's day.
The golden era, as it's called.
Definitely.
And like we're the same people.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. We're still humans.
We haven't evolved as humans that much in the last.
But they actually don't look human anymore, do they?
They look so different.
And it's the shape of their muscles. They're like more bubbly, kind of really artificial looking, but still looks awesome, but not quite as.
It's just so grotesquely large.
That's right. It is. It's just bizarre, isn't it?
You look back at.
It's extreme.
Yeah, you look back at some images of sort of Arnie, for instance, running along the beach, and you're like, he just looks like a really big dude.
That's right.
But like a big dude,
exactly.
right? Whereas, like, you'd see someone like nowadays, you're like, wow, he's big.
Yeah.
Whereas when you see a modern day bodybuilder of the same caliber, but nowadays, and you'd see it would draw attention in a very different way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's
almost
right.
Like,
even to see them running, if you saw them running, that would draw attention, wouldn't it? You'd probably eat your hat if you saw them running alone, wouldn't it?
I don't think they could.
No, I don't think they could, mate. A 10-meter dash. But yeah, talking about genetics, interesting, because I basically started training my younger sister, a few years back, and she responded really fast. Like, I mean, within 4 to 5 weeks, just insane. And then she was doing bikini competitions then within about 6 months, you know. So it goes to show genetics definitely, I think, loads the gun. But then I think it's all the other key factors and elements that come into it. Yeah, so, you know, the lifestyle, what you eat, which is what I'm going to come to now. I lived with Sean in this beautiful house for about 4 months, and yeah, I mean, you eat quite a lot of meat, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he likes his meat. It's carnivore, typical Australian. Doesn't eat a great deal of veg.
No.
But
never have.
You know, you're fit, you're healthy, you're strong, you look great. So it goes to show that obviously I'm a big advocate on how important veg is, how it makes me feel, but everyone's completely different, and you're in tune with your body. And you don't eat a great deal of veg, do you?
No, I'm no fool. Like, I know vegetables are good, but it's just one of those things that.
Sweet potato you eat mine, don't you? So at least you get something. A lot of sweet potato.
A lot of avocado.
Avocado. He likes an avocado as well.
That's the only thing green I eat. But it's just one of those things. Even as a kid growing up, I was so against eating vegetables. And I just never grew out of it. It's actually annoying because I don't know if it's psychological sort of thing.
That's right, yeah. I think it's the habit.
I want to eat it, and I have.
But it's just repulsive,
I've gone through stages where, like, I force myself to eat, like, broccoli and stuff like that, and I find it hard.
I suppose the adaptation element,
almost like
heaving. Yeah, a lot of people get that, you know, but it's like it's
just psychological.
Yeah, exactly. So you used to eat it when you were younger. Like a lot of people, the studies have shown that people who eat it from a young age have got a lot more chance, obviously, eating it as they grow up.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for you. You must have had a bit of time off. But it's the adaptation thing there, isn't it? It's like your body's no longer adapted to eating it. You'd have to kind of build the habits up again, wouldn't you? But I mean, everything seems to be functioning well. So I mean, although I big up veg a lot,
look again. I'm not ignorant of the fact that, like,
yeah, you know exactly what it does for you.
Yeah, I know what it does. That's hence why I forced myself to eat it in the past. But it's just not it's just not something that I like eating. And like you said, I've come to where I am now at nearly 30 years of age and survived quite well without it. So
exactly.
I don't eat like, obviously I'm lenient as much as I want to be, but at the same time, I don't want to be too lenient. So,
absolutely,
in regards to eating, like
you're still mindful of
bad
getting
stuff.
nutrients in, yeah, exactly. And you know what? You're in tune with your body, so it's almost like intuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to think too hard about it. You just go for what
I
your
would
body wants.
I'm sure I would function much better with it, but at the same time, I'm not functioning poorly without it.
That's exactly right. So what you don't want to force yourself to eat it then, isn't
Yeah.
it? But yeah, no, I listened to an interesting podcast with I think his name was Dr. Sean Baker. It was on the Joe Rogan. I think I sent you the screenshot.
You mentioned it, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it.
Yeah, check it out. The carnivore diet, right? So there's a lot of people now around the world who are essentially eating just meat, no vegetables, nothing. And obviously for me, I was like, come on, this has got to be a load of BS, a load of bullshit. But I mean, the guy I think he's like 50. I mean, he's in incredible shape, super fit and healthy. And he's very, very knowledgeable, and he could back up, all the kind of stuff he was talking about. And yeah, it's just very interesting because you can get such a wide range of nutrients from just eating different types of meat alone. But I wouldn't have thought it would be sustainable just to eat meat, because this guy was initially on the ketosis diet, right?
Yes.
So guys and girls who don't know what that is, it's essentially just eating primarily protein and fats and vegetables, right? So not eating a great deal of carbohydrates or hardly any whatsoever.
It's like zero, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so for example, you'd be eating a lot of meats, lots of veg like butters. You can eat butter and cheese and dairy stuff. As I say, a lot of meats, avocados, nuts, all that kind of stuff, olive oil, but very, very low carbs. And this guy then he switched over then to just eating meat, and and he's prescribed this diet to a lot of people who've had health issues, and it's actually alleviated any kind of ailments they've had, and people are breaking like personal bests in the gym and stuff, and it blew me away. I thought to myself, after all of this kind of preaching about veg and stuff, I was thinking I would like to challenge myself and give it a go for a month maybe and just see how I get on. Joe Rogan's trying it, so I'm tempted, but it just made me think, because you eat a lot of red meat, right?
Oh, look, I eat it
meat in general.
It's quite a wide variety of meat. So
you're quite self-aware though in terms of you probably don't overeat red meat, do you?
I don't. I try not to. I try and I try and eat it a couple of times a day, but like I do have several meals a day. So, and none of them are overly large. So it might be a couple 100 grams of beef or something. So depending on my day, but depending on what I have available or what's cooked and things like that, I might have a couple red meat dishes a day. There might be a few days off, for instance, or something like that. So, but yeah, I definitely understand that things like fish or white meat is much more easily digestible.
Yeah, for sure.
Something like red meat, so I try not to have that too much.
Yeah, but then at the same time, though, let's not. Yeah, that's totally. I totally agree with that. But the guy was saying as well. I mean, there's a lot to be said as far as it. People say it takes red meat can take years to go through your gut and so on and so forth. It's debatable at most. But there's so many. Let's look at the wide range of minerals and micronutrients that you get from red meat alone. B12, magnesium, all the rest of it. There's a long list. And not to mention the type of fats as well. So you get saturated fat, but if you get good quality grass-fed beef, I think the majority of it is actually monounsaturated fat anyway, which helps you break down the micronutrients and stuff. So it's interesting. I mean, that What the Health, I think you watched that What the Health, other than a podcast on that.
Yeah, that was it's
bigging up the vegan diet.
Things like that, they're very one-sided. So
that's exactly right.
You've got to take anything like that with a pinch of salt, right?
Definitely. And that's it. And they were just saying about in Hong Kong, for example, the people who have the longest life expectancy on the planet live in Hong Kong, and they eat around about 40% more meat than the Americans. Is
that fish though?
No, this is red. So this is red meat. Sorry, not meat. This is red meat.
Wow,
40%. Yeah, and they're finding now that actually the people who live the longest, the majority of them do have red meat on a regular basis. So it's because of all the stuff, all the kind of a lot of false information essentially that we've been bombarded with in terms of red meat causing cancer, heart disease, and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But refined sugar has a lot to answer for, doesn't it? Because I was going to come to the fact that try and get your take on because you obviously witnessed it yourself, being a trainer and stuff like that. We're living in an age now where it's actually an epidemic in terms of chronic illnesses. Diabetes, I think I mentioned this on my last podcast, but about 1/3 of America now has, I think Australia and the UK are not too far behind, but 1/3 of America now has diabetes or pre-diabetes. That's like 100 million Americans, and it's quite a compelling topic. But then we don't seem to get told with these studies. We don't seem to get get informed on the fact that a lot of these people who they've done tests on who eat a lot of red meat also don't generally look after themselves. They're finding now the studies they've done.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? They'll often come out with studies and stats and figures to represent one thing, like you said about these diabetes and issues with sugar, and sort of coincided with people that eat red meat, or also vice versa. Sorry, there'll be issues with red meat, and they're not taking into account the people that are affected are also over-consuming so many other things.
Yeah, exactly. Not getting enough sleep, sedentary job, all of these things, exactly, all of these factors. Right? Yeah,
it's hard to get clean studies in regards to how one food like that, the type of food being red meat, and how that individually affects people.
That's
because
right.
It's like when people eat a meal of a steak, veg, and some potato, for instance.
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't eat white potato because it's high GI and things like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's high GI, but the steak is really low. And then you've got some fibrous vegetables over there. Your body's consuming that whole meal in one go.
That's
so
right.
it's being broken down together. So you
exactly.
can't look at an individual food source when it's been eaten with many others.
Exactly.
And go, oh yeah, but that white potato is bad.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you're having a nice grass-fed cut of beef and,
That's
and
right.
some roasted sort of vegetables, cauliflower, and broccoli, carrots, all
some nutrient-dense meal, isn't it?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
But
not having fries, like for example, a lot of these people, most likely, having fries or having, like fries which have been obviously fried in vegetable oil, trans fats, and then they're having all these different sauces and whatnot they're adding to the meal. Not to mention the fact they probably, they could drink alcohol on a regular basis. Like I said earlier, a lot of them have got a sedentary lifestyle where they've got office jobs, they're not exercising enough. All these factors come into it. So the bottom line is, I think meat, the other studies the guy was mentioning is that like vegetarians or vegans or meat eaters, and this is people who eat red meat regular now, there's no difference in life expectancy really. It was around about the same. There was no difference like the study. I think it was actually done in Australia, this study. It was like 7,500 people. Maybe that was another study. Don't quote me on that because these people are dead. Yeah, so that would have been a tough one.
I know you read a lot of stuff, so just mashing studies together.
I know. I'm just mixing them up now. I'm just basically freestyling here.
Just go with it.
That's it.
People won't know.
I just like the word studies. It makes me sound really intellectual.
Studies have been done. Anything you just back up any claim you want to make with
that's
it.
Exactly it.
Studies proven it. Oh right.
But yeah, no. Anyway, so they found that there's no difference in life expectancy and lifespan of people, vegans, vegetarians, or people who eat red meat on a regular basis. I think the microbiome and the gut flora, essentially all the bugs within inside your body, will adapt to whatever you kind of. That's what the body is, right? It's an adaptation machine.
I think
it
you're
wants
very
to survive.
Because you think about sort of the diet that I have versus the diet that you have, being very vegetable dense versus not, being myself. And the way I've always been that way, so you look at how the body develops and how it grows.
That's right. So you've built your microbiome up over time.
So that's
your body's functioning perfectly fine.
Again, it's only a hypothesis, but that's what I put it down to, right?
Exactly.
If you were a regular vegetable eater, consumer of a variety of vegetables from a young age, and you maintain that till sort of early adulthood, and then for some reason you're like, no, I'm not eating vegetables anymore, and you got rid of the vegetables, I'm sure you'd have some sort of health ramifications, negative health ramification, versus, I suppose, someone like myself. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does, for sure. And
I'm not completely up to speed with things like that, but it sounds logical to me.
I know, and the conclusion is that, generally most of the part... There we are. That's Sean's message right there. That's the takeaway for the day. No, but the bottom line is you kind of, for the most part, you're eating whole foods. So you may have some processed foods here and there, right? But what would you say in terms of percentage? Like 70%?
Oh no,
eating healthy. Not eating healthy. I mean like 70-80% of the time. I think I'm hitting about 80%, roughly 80-90% healthy foods, but I think that's what it goes down to.
Be like maybe 20% at most. You know what I mean? Because it's just like sweet potato or rice is some sort of carbohydrate source, and it's some sort of like protein source. It's either some sort of fish, or some chicken, or some lamb, or some beef.
That's right.
Some sort of like pasta, I suppose. Sometimes there's another carb source, which I have in addition to other things.
Yeah.
But in terms of processed, the closest that I would have it processed in terms
What about the ice cream you used to keep in the freezer when I lived with you?
That
was only on weekends.
The one you used to eat.
The one I used to tuck into, yeah?
The closest I'd have on a regular basis might be the store-bought tomato sauce.
Yeah.
But like I've looked at that, and it's like sodium would probably be the worst thing on that. But like in saying that, like obviously I need some level of sodium in my diet. Everything else, meat, and carbohydrate.
Yeah, and going back to carbohydrates, just to clear things up to people now, because a lot of people are kind of confused and a bit delusional when it comes to what carbohydrates are. And obviously there's all this talk about how carbohydrates essentially contribute to obesity. Sugar, essentially. Carbohydrates is another word for sugar. There's different types. So Sean was then mentioning sweet potato, rice, those kind of things, pasta, and they are a form of like starchy carbohydrates, right? Which pasta contains a lot of gluten, for example. Rice and sweet potato, you won't find any gluten in. So generally, I mean, personally, if I do eat starchy kinds of carbohydrates, it'll be sweet potato, rice, or sometimes quinoa, but I'm not a massive fan of quinoa, although it is really nutritious. So I'll stick to them because there's no gluten in them, and gluten doesn't fully agree with me. But for people out there who are trying to lose body fat and stuff like that, vegetable is a type of carbohydrates, vegetables, but they're plant carbohydrates, right? So you're not gonna, basically your body's not gonna release a load of insulin, and it doesn't break them down the same way, essentially. So you are going to have a lot more of a chance storing body fat if you're continuously eating foods like bread, pasta, cereals. So I always talk about vegetables, but there's plenty of nutrients in vegetables, obviously. But if you can eat them with your meals as opposed to the starchy carbs, and when you do have the starchy carbs, try and have stuff like you were saying you eat primarily sweet potato and rice and a bit of pasta.
Sweet potato and rice, because put the rice in the rice cooker and the sweet potato in the oven to cook it, and it lasts in the fridge for like a week. Like I don't like to leave it any longer than that. So I'll tend to cook a big enough batch to last about a week. And so because I'm having so many meals throughout the day, I can just grab a bit of this and reheat it. I try and reheat it in the pan because I know microwaves are the best.
Exactly.
You're a big sort of pusher of that nowadays.
But I used to use them when I lived with you. Only a few months ago I stopped using them. It's really bad.
You don't know what you don't know.
No,
right?
exactly.
You can't.
So
I don't
live and you learn, isn't it?
That's why I think, much like yourself, we go through a period when you first start training, for instance, of sort of complete ignorance. And I suppose that's why it makes us relatable and good when it comes to good at what we do, when it comes to relating to new people when it comes to training. So you can understand people's logic when they do a certain exercise, or they do something a certain way, or they think that doing X will achieve Y. But you've just got to sort of, you've got to be patient. I suppose it's shown me, it's given me, I've grown a lot of patience and referred my experiences back, my own experiences to like what some of my clients are dealing with in regards to their experiences of trying to achieve a goal, or they've just come to me after 6 months of trying to lose weight or get stronger or whatever it might be, and sort of just plateauing.
Yes, that's right.
It's like, well, yeah, look, I've been there.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
did that for a long time.
That's right. Yeah, you just keep learning.
Everything wrong you can do, I've done it.
I know, and exactly, and it works. Everyone's body functions differently, so people respond differently to different foods. But I would say, if you're looking to lose body fat and that's your main goal, then you just want to kind of earn your carbohydrates, essentially. So if you're just having lean meats, good quality meat like grass fed, as I mentioned, or organic or whatever, eggs, that kind of stuff, plenty of veg. Keep it simple to start with, and maybe on your training days you could have stuff like sweet potato, brown rice with 1 or 2 meals, and just bring in the starchy carbs on the days you're working for it, essentially. But before we go on too much, I wanted to mention more about your style of training, the way you train people. What I've noticed, and actually what I've kind of gathered myself, is the psychological element. Well, so anything in life you can apply this to, but when it comes to getting in shape, getting fit and healthy, the psychological element is the most important piece. And I believe, a good trainer is normally almost like a therapist before they're actually a trainer, and I've noticed with yourself, you're kind of, you're a prime example of that. You are very much tuned in to connecting with your clients, speaking to them and educating them, as well as teaching them to lift weights properly, obviously with good technique. I've noticed you talk to your clients a lot. You're very you're very personal with them, and that is kind of a big part of your style of training. What I've gathered, do you find that is really effective? The psychology in terms of delving into the
hit the nail on the head there, man.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head. If someone wants to achieve any physical goal, it's because there's an underlying psychological goal that drives them, whether they understand it or not. Where if you want to achieve a bigger butt, a thinner waist, less body fat, you want to be shredded. It's because there's some sort of, not good, bad, like, it doesn't have to be good or bad, but there's some sort of psychological driver that is pushing you to achieve that physical goal.
Insecurities, basically. That's what it comes down to. We've got, and going back to why we started training, a lot of it is stemmed from insecurities.
Yeah.
Go on, sorry.
And the more you do, the more you train into, you said, like, why you start, it may not start as an insecurity necessarily, but there is an element of that for sure, because you want to be perceived as someone who's typically maybe more attractive than how you perceive yourself now.
Yeah.
So for my job, obviously my psyche self, and why I put so much emphasis on and getting into someone's head, boring into someone's head, is to establish why it is they want to achieve what it is they want to achieve.
Right.
So one, we can find out like any possible psychological roadblocks they might be sort of putting up, and whether their goal is actually a healthy one. So I want to make sure that a young female, for instance, doesn't want to be thin and look a certain way because she's got these really negative views on how she looks. Because most of the time, people, it's like you said, it's perception, isn't it? Sorry to cut you off there.
It's the body image, isn't it? So it's your own perception, and these deep-rooted kind of thoughts you have about yourself and how you look and your appearance. A lot of the time, it's not what other people see, and it's an internal thing, right? So, like you said, then that is one thing I've really focused on now, is establishing why they want to get in shape. The why is a very, very important question, isn't it?
Well, a lot of the time, unfortunately, a lot of the time, if not most of the time, I've come to the realization, I came to it pretty quick when I first started PTing. I'm sure you did the same thing. You go into the industry bright-eyed, thinking you're going to change everyone's life that you come across.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to them and whether they're willing to change and make those changes to create the result they want. But if you're not addressing someone's why, like you said, you're addressing the psychological issues or attachments or the reasoning as to why they want to achieve whatever physical goal they're setting out to achieve, then you're never actually going to get there. Right? You may actually get there. I strike that. You may actually get there. So if you're a slightly overweight female and you want to get down to a certain size, they'll show you an image of, I want to look like this person. Okay, great. You get there physically because you do the diet, you do the training, and you get there.
How do you sustain it?
But how
That's
do you
the
sustain
most important thing, isn't it?
But if you don't address the reasons as to why that individual wanted to achieve that goal in the first place, you'll actually they'll get there to the physical representation, they won't be satisfied.
Yeah, you never are.
And
I always have this conversation.
Imagine how disheartening that's going to be for the individual when they actually achieve the physical representation of what they wanted, but they're not happy.
They still got the same perception. They've still got that.
They're not happy because
body image issue, essentially.
Exactly, right. So rather than, because most of your clients, like my own, you get to see once a week.
Yes.
Right? You personal training prices be what they are.
Yeah.
And the people that sort of, there's only so many hours in the week we can train people. So you can see someone for an hour a week. If you simply just instruct someone for an hour and take them through exercises, which they could probably do themselves, then one, it's not good for business because they're not going to stick around too long because they're not learning shit and they're not going to do it by themselves.
That's right.
But at the same time, you're not getting deeper into their head to affect every other hour of the day and every other day of the week. Yeah. So they make the right choices when it comes to food.
That's right.
I know you're big on that as well.
Yeah.
And affect all their training and their reasoning as to why they're so focused on their eating and their training and things like that.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not at least trying to tap into the reasons as to why they're trying to achieve whatever goal they're trying to achieve, I'm not doing my job.
That's right, and it's a never-ending road then, because you get to the point then, like I've been there myself, and this is kind of one of the main kind kind of drivers behind me starting up this podcast is I managed to get to a place now similar to yourself where, you know, you're focused on how you feel more than anything. So you're tuned into your energy levels, you know, all this kind of stuff, and how you feel in your performance in the gym, and all the different markers as to whether or not, you know, you're healthy. And what happens then is, you know, the physique kind of comes as a side effect then, right? And that's the place I got to now. But I was always one of those people, after being, you know, a competitor for so many years and stuff, a fitness model competitor, bodybuilder, whatever you want to call it. You know, I was always chasing, when I was not competing, I was always chasing that physique. You know, I wanted to try and maintain this physique, you know, looking at my abs every 1 minute. Now it's like every 10 minutes. Yeah. And it was a never-ending road, and I was never satisfied. And even when I kind of got really lean and aesthetic and proportionate, it was still never enough. Yeah. When you get, it's very hard, and it sounds a bit like woo-woo, but it takes some time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you just trust the process, and you've got a good trainer like Sean or myself, and you're on your own fitness journey now, then just focus on, like Sean said, a bit of self-discipline, and just trying to be, you know, I'm not saying self-discipline has been being strict all the time. No, you need to find balance, but you need to try and focus on, you know, eating the right foods, drinking enough water, the simple things, you know, getting enough sleep, all of these things combined. And then one more thing I'm going to come to now, lifting weights. Wanted to delve a little bit deeper into that. Lifting weights, if you're doing that with good technique, and you're doing that consistently, you know, you're going to gradually start building muscle, and you're going to build a healthy metabolism. You're going to lose body fat, and you're going to enjoy that. And that's the most important thing, is enjoying the process, right? So if you're caught up on this end goal, as you just brushed over then, I want to get to this physique, and you've got this like kind of imaginary image in your head. When you get there, you're not satisfied, and then, you know, it's, as you said, it's just extremely disheartening, and it can put you into a worse place mentally. So, fundamentally, it's a case of looking after yourself most of the time, and trusting the process, and enjoying the process. And any tips, because I think we're going to have to wrap this up now.
You're right.
Any tips for the listeners, as far as, you know, because I know most of them are going to want to get in shape, going to want to look good. So, losing body fat. Any tips in terms of people who want to lose body fat and just generally, you know, get in better shape? Tone up is a word that's used quite a lot for women. Essentially building lean muscle and just getting themselves into a healthier, fitter state, and leaner as well. Any tips?
Any tips? I just have to say, be patient. You've got to be patient enough for what feels like a chore now in terms of exercise, going to the gym and exercising. And eating better. You don't have to eat amazing all the time.
Yes.
If for myself,
healthy choices, like you said earlier.
I don't eat amazing all the time.
No.
But that 20% that you sort of allow for maybe processed foods or some ice cream here or there.
It's good for the mind. Yeah.
Exactly. It keeps you compliant 80% of the time. So you mightn't get to your goal within 3 months, because maybe hypothetically that's the shortest period of time to get your goal.
Yeah.
If you are 100% compliant. But it takes you 4 months, 4.5 months instead of 3, but you're guaranteed to get there. Whereas that 3 month period, you might actually get there.
That's right.
Then give yourself a bit of leniency.
Give yourself, that's right.
But just as I said, be patient. Be patient enough for what feels like a chore with your food, with your training, in every aspect of your that affects your goal. To achieve your goal. Allow time for those chores to become habits. Once they become habits, they no longer become chores. It's just what you do. Sure. As long as you have the right guidance. Right. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard. You don't know what you don't know. It's hard to establish whether you're doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
And I hate seeing people, and I don't say hate it because it's unfortunate. I feel bad for them. People that dedicate enough time to training. You see them in the gym every day,
and they're not getting the results.
And they're not getting the result, but they're trying. You can see they're trying hard because they just don't know what they're doing.
That's right.
And as a PT, I'm trying to run a business, so I can only give out so many free sessions trying to help people.
Exactly.
You try and do your best, and without trying to come across too selly to sort of sell your services, because there's only so many hours in the week, and like I said, you've got to run a business. But
I'm sorry to
go for it.
Cut you off there. Exercises, because what I was going to come to then is a lot of people, you can normally spot this in the gym, right? When you see people doing like a leg press on an assisted pull-up machine and tying bands to machines and sit.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So you need to get the fundamental exercises in place, the really important exercises that will get you bang for your buck, right? So learning how to do things like squats and deadlifts, right, Sean? So the traditional lifts, king and queen is the way I look at it, squats and deadlifts. I know you do a lot of that kind of training, compound lifts, doing stuff which gets maximum results and yields you the most benefits, really.
Yeah.
So any tips as far as exercises go? What's your top, let me just say, what's your top, say, 4 or 5 exercises when it comes to lifting weights?
Well, obviously squatting and deadlifting, like you said, king and queen. And sort of, well, I look at more movement patterns, So we're looking at a knee dominant movement, so you squat, and then your hip dominant being a deadlift.
Yep, the hinging.
Your horizontal push and pull being sort of a bench press and a bent over barbell row.
Yep.
And then your vertical push and pull being, say, a standing barbell press, a strict press, I suppose you call it, and a pull up or a chin up. So you're working all 4 main upper body movement patterns, horizontal movements and vertical movements.
That's right, push and
pull.
pull.
And then your knee dominant and your hip dominant movements in your legs.
So multi-joint movements, essentially, where you're recruiting a wider range of muscles. And
typically everything is a derivative of one of those. So it's either it's a squat or a deadlift, or it's a similar.
That's right. It's like a lunge. A lunge is a really good exercise. Essentially, it's a squat.
Yeah, it's a variation of that.
Variation,
It stems from that. So
that's right.
They're in the same sort of family. You categorize them together. The same with like a dumbbell chest press, a flat dumbbell press, and a bench press, and a barbell row, or a one-arm row, or a seated cable row, and things like that. They're all the same.
So we're talking good old-fashioned, free weights, barbells, dumbbells, and going back to basics essentially, because you find a lot of people just get caught up. I understand it. There's a lot of information out there, especially when you go on social media, Instagram, YouTube, whatnot. There's a lot of great information out there. But there's also a lot of crappy information
that's
out
exactly
there, right?
Right. And unfortunately, a lot of the crappy information is wrapped up in really well presented ways, which looks like it comes from a place of authority.
That's right.
I've seen
Insta famous.
I've seen a lot of people, a lot of posts from a variety of sources about. You see some videos on Instagram, for instance, saying how to do this thing, like how to do this movement or how to do this movement. This is right, this is wrong, for instance. And it's the one that is the one that's performed correctly is still incorrect. So whoever it is that's putting this together doesn't actually know what they're doing.
That's right. And on that topic,
because their video looks nice and polished and it's well presented.
Yes, that's it. It draws people in.
Oh, and this guy's got 100,000 followers.
And that's what it is. Another thing is this, and that's it. And it's very clever what they do. A lot of Insta famous people or people with a massive following. The human nature. Novelty. It's part of human nature. So we'll see something new. It looks fancy. It draws people in, especially women who want to tone their muscles. Right? Yeah. They don't want to build them. They want to tone them.
People get sucked into that because there's always someone willing to take advantage of people's ignorance. That's
right, yeah. So it looks fancy, it draws people in, but the bottom line is stick to the basics. Squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press. Learn how to do them technically correct, and you're on the right tracks. And on that note, one more thing: yoga and mobility. Now, I know Sean's routine, right? I used to live with him. He used to get up, he has clients at 5 a.m. He would get up at like 4 a.m. or whatever. He would do about 20 minutes of yoga. You still do that in the mornits?
Well, yeah, now I wake up at 4:45.
There we go. This guy's hardcore. He'll have the foam roll out. He'll be...
Try and get in about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. It is first thing in the morning, so yeah. I'm understanding of that. I'll have a shower first. I'll let that sort of process wake me up. Then get the foam roller out, rumble roller on my back. A lot of spinal rotation stuff. A lot of down dog, things like that to get the shoulders working, and just whatever I feel I need, either for the day, depending on what I'm going to do, or more based on how I feel from the previous day's workout. If I did some deadlifting the day before, chances are my back's going to be a little bit tight, the muscle's going to be a little bit more stiff, so there's probably a bit more spinal rotation stuff. On the flip side of that, if I was doing some squatting, I might be doing more quad, more hip flexor based stretching to sort of release that stuff. So I go about my day, like you said, from 5 in the morning, and I can perform stuff demonstrating properly. That's what made me want to do with the first.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, and because I know you got a few tips from yoga class as well, didn't you?
A lot. Well, that's like you said.
That's where I've started doing.
It's yoga.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And that's what
the stretches I perform in the morning are yoga stretches. So it's just I've just collated them into my own little little sort of
integrated them together, and just put your own
collaboration
stamp on it.
of
That's
movements,
right,
yeah.
and that's what I've started doing recently is a lot more yoga consistently. So once or twice a week, I aim to do a yoga class, and pretty much every day I'll do some form of mobility, even if it's just 10-15 minutes of priming before I train. And I've found it has definitely changed the game for me over the last, say, it's only been over the last, say, 18 months I've really been honing in on this kind of stuff and making it a priority. And I've built more muscle. More importantly, I have much more energy. I feel much better. My posture's improved a bit, quite a lot actually. And I've noticed some huge benefits from it. So I would highly recommend, when it comes to lifting weights, especially doing squats and deadlifts, focus on mobility and correct yourself first, because if you're going to find a trainer who's going to correct any imbalancements you have and help build the weaker areas, which we find a lot of, like the posterior chain, for example, the back muscles and glutes, bum muscles.
Well, back to front is so out of whack, right? Everyone's tight and short and weak on the backside, and the front side is just it's not usually much better.
That's right.
But everything's sort of drawn forward.
Exactly.
There's a tight, internally rotated at the shoulder, tight chest, things like that.
Exactly. And that's something I've noticed. So most of you out there who are listening to this are most probably going to be front dominant, and you most likely are going to have somewhere in the posterior chain, so the back muscles or the bum muscles, hamstrings, maybe are going to be underactive. So the back muscles is something I would try and focus on. So the posterior muscles, right? So stay tuned on that note. Stay tuned program, which is going to be coming out soon, my training program, and we're going to call it a day here. So Sean, if you want to reel off what your socials are, your social media platforms for the audience.
You can find me at Apex Strength Society on Instagram. I'm still working on a website at the moment, so just Instagram is where I'm doing most of my sort of social exposure through.
Yeah, and Facebook, I pick up a lot of stuff off your page, by the way, when it comes to your lifting, and I always try and focus. So I always try and tune into, the way you lift the weights, because you're technically very, very, very adept. So you're going to learn a lot. So go check him out at Apex Strength Society on Instagram, and stay tuned for my training programs, which will be coming out very soon. As I said at the start, don't forget to give me a rating and a review, please, on this podcast, and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram at Martin Silva Fitness. And talking about vegetables, if you're struggling to get your veg in, then can you please use my discount code? I'm going to rephrase that. Organifi products. If you are struggling to get your veg in, get the Organifi products. The green juice tastes amazing, and so does the red juice, packed full of nutrients. If you're really struggling to get the vegetables in, just like my man Sean here, and use code Martin Silva at the checkout for 15% off. And that's pretty much it. So thanks a lot, Sean. I really appreciate your knowledge bombs, mate. Knowledge bombs galore.
Happy to be on.
Signing out. Thanks a lot, buddy.